Welcome. This is Atemen reporting live from 4 meters below sea level from our downtown Almere studio. Today I want to talk a little bit about the 10th HPC conference, status conference that took place in Germany, and normally that's the place for people in Germany to meet and discuss high performance computing. This year it was taking place online. And I just want to talk a little bit about a few of the highlights of the conference. So the conference started with a keynote from Hans-Joachim Bungartz, who had some remarks on high performance computing. And they were not all connected, but they were all considered to be important. So because there were quite different remarks, he dubbed his presentation also Ein Kessel Buntes. So let's say a kettle with all kinds of stuff in it. Actually, it's named after a famous German television program that ran for decades. The first thing that that's important that he remarked was that there is, of course, on the one hand simulation, and on the other hand, you have artificial intelligence, machine learning, but they both need high performance computing, not only computing itself, but also numerical algorithms, workflows, etc. And the next picture is quite nice to present this. So you have on the one hand people that are looking at models, and on the other hand you have data scientists looking at data, but of course they need to work together. They have some different methods, scientific methods to work from, but in the end they all need high performance computing to run efficiently. So that is his idea. Simulation and artificial intelligence, they just have to work together. So they are complementary and not orthogonal. And one example that he mentioned is, for instance, the call in the AI community to try to give AI a more mathematical foundation. Another topic in his kettle was algorithms, and basically he said algorithms are the essence of everything. Without algorithms and without you don't get performance. And for instance, this was illustrated in another thing that he took out of his kettle, co-design, but then done in the right way. So currently a lot of people are working in a co-design fashion. They say, well, take applications, take hardware people and put them together and then design new architectures. Yes, that's fine, Bungartz says, but don't forget to also include algorithms people and also, of course, systems. So you have to have the whole range, including algorithms, because algorithms also have to change to be adapted to new architectures, and new architectures have to be adapted to be able to use the most efficient algorithms. Another thing that he took out of his kettle was the SPEXA program. This is the German program for high performance computing towards exascale, focused on applications and software. It did run for quite some time, so there are a lot of results. There were a number of research directions in the SPEXA program, ranging from computational algorithms to software tools, to application software, to data management. And of course, it was, as he showed, it was not just to one application area, but there were applications running and projects running for computer science, for biology, physics, basically for everything. And of course, the software community, the exascale software community, is quite international, and also the SPEXA consortium and the projects that work together with people from Japan, from France, from other countries. So it was really international. So that was the things that he wanted to say about the past. And then there was one remark about the future, which will start very soon in Germany, when the Nationales Hochleistungsrechnen program will be adopted and will be implemented. Basically, that's a new way of organizing the supercomputing centers in Germany. How will it look? They don't really know yet. The decision will be taken in November. But actually, the work on the planning did already start some time ago, quite some time ago. So, and Bungartz is quite awaiting how will that be, when will it start, how will the governance be, and will the ideas that were put in during the past years also become live. After the keynote, there were several other presentations, and one of the next that I want to highlight is the presentation about the HoreKa installation, the supercomputer that is currently being built in Stuttgart, and Professor Michael Resch was talking about that. So the HoreKa system is delivered by HPE, and it is installed over the past period, and I think it will be completely ripe for production somewhere later this month if the plans don't change. So Michael Resch told, well, there are a number of application areas, and HLRS is mainly focusing on engineering applications, so supporting engineers and supporting engineering applications. The research that they do is also focused on that, so apart from, of course, cybersecurity, high-performance computing is an important topic. That's why they call it High-Performance Computing Center. Michael Resch also showed several examples of what they did, and this is one, I think it's from April or May this year. You can find it on the HLRS website. It's a small city called Herrenburg. Actually, this is not the city of Herrenburg. This is the twin, the digital twin of the city. And because they have a digital twin, they can do a lot of things like depicting the traffic, seeing all kinds of other flows and things happening and how happy people are. This person is happy. I don't know why. Perhaps because he's in green. There's someone here who's not happy. He's on a red line. Don't know exactly what a red line means, but he's not making it happy. Anyway, if you want to see what it means and how you can analyze data in a kind of virtual reality environment using a digital twin of a small town like Hamburg, just go to the HLRL website. Michael Resch then continued to say, well, the HoreKa system is of course the result of a very long process, and as part of the process we asked the vendors to do a tender, and these were the criteria for the tender. Sustained performance, 40%, the most important thing. As Michael Resch said, well, the doing on the real core benchmarks like HPL and HPCG that are part of the, let's say, the top 500, it's not that important. It's only, if you calculate it, about 8% of the total criterion. Total cost of ownership was 10% for the HoreKa, but Michael Resch said that probably with the next system it will be higher because of the increasing costs of energy and the awareness of energy. So the HoreKa system, these are already figures that are known, but nevertheless Michael Resch again explained them. It's a 44 million euro machine. It has 700 more than 700 cores AMD ROM. Initially the idea was to have Intel cores, but later on it was swapped for AMD ROM cores when they became available. The peak is 26 petaflops, but Michael Resch doesn't really care about peak. He cares about the sustained performance, which should be over 2 petaflops, he said. And there will be considerable size of main memory and disk space. He also talked a little bit about the difficulties that they had in these times, because a big part of the machine was installed during the crisis, which meant that the people that really wanted to install the machines, the experts from the US in this case, couldn't fly over to Germany. So they had so the people in Germany from HPE and from HLRS had to do the installation of the machine. Which of course is rather difficult. I mean, if you have the experts, they know how to screw things, and that the yellow cable should go in there, and that one yellow cable is not the same as the other yellow cable. They all know that, but they were in the US, so they had to do it over the internet. Someone in the audience then at the conference asked, well, but why doesn't HP and why don't the other vendors have people in Germany that can do that? And then HLRS said, I would not going to pay for that, because those people are just experts in installing machines. They know how to do it because they built the machine. Normally they just fly over for a week or 2 weeks. They install the machine or part of the machine, and then they go back to the US or they go to another customer and install the machine. You don't want to pay for the whole year for the people just waiting until they can do some installation. That would be a waste of time and money, and I would not pay for it. That's what HLRS said. Of course, he's right in that. One of the other interesting presentations that was then was from Jennifer Buchmüller. She's from the Kit Center in Karlsruhe, and Karlsruhe has a new system which they are currently installing, which is called HoreKa. So the HoreKa system, this is just a picture, an image. This is not the real machine. They're currently installing the system, and that will be ready somewhere in the second quarter of next year. Then it will go into production. It was a 15 million euro system, and they expect at KIT that it will then end up somewhere in the top 10 of Europe, so in the European top 10 of fastest machines. The system consists of two main parts. One is GPUs, accelerators, and the other part is, of course, the main CPU part. The system is kind of modular built in the sense that there's a section especially for high throughput computer, a section especially for accelerators, and there's also a section which is reserved for future technology, so they can put in other technologies connected to the same hardware. Another presentation which we just want to talk a little bit about is the presentation from Dr. Josef Weikendorfer, and he was talking about what HLRS is doing in Munich. So this is the main picture that Weikendorfer was talking about. In about 2 years ago, the SuperMUC NG was installed, and these were the happy people that could push the button. Actually, this was just one part of the bigger program. So Bavaria, it's a country within Germany. Bavaria has its own HPC program, and they put hundreds of millions of euros into that about future computing. And he was talking mainly about what they do now in future computing and how they prepare for the next systems. So it's not like that they just want to have the next fastest system. They just want to have machines which best support Bavarian researchers. And to that, their plan is to look at applications, isolate the important parts of the application, and then try to figure out the best architectures and match that. So kind of a future computing plan which most of the other organizations also have. Of course, they are working on one part together with the research communities in Bavaria, and on the other hand, they're working together with people in Germany, in the rest of the European Union, with in the US and in Japan. So that was the report from the 10th HPC Status Conference in Germany. If you want to know more about it, you can go to the Gauss Alliance webpage, and for several of the presentations, slides are available, so you can look at it in a little bit more detail. And otherwise, just wait until next year for the 11th HPC Status Conference in Germany. Meanwhile, stay tuned to our channel for more news about high-performance computing, reports from conferences and interviews with people. For Premier Magazine, this was Attemann reporting.